One we're going to talk about right now is store credit cards. When you have a good credit score, it's very enticing when you go into a brick and mortar place like a Target or a Walmart or a Best Buy or any of these consumer stores that offer up a store credit card to you when you get to the checkout counter. Isn't that a good idea? Well, they usually come on the enticing offer, don't they, Wendy? Usually like 0% or we'll give you $100. There's always some hook in there that wants to sort of entice you to take that offer. Is that a good thing? Well, it's a good thing to get a deal, but there's some downsides that they don't tell you about at the register that the checkout person isn't trained to inform you on credit-wise, okay? And we shouldn't expect them to do that either. So today we're going to help you understand what those red flags are so that you can understand this and so forth. Cindy, have you ever had a store credit card personally?
Personally, no, but every time I go shopping, they ask me if I want to save 25% off of today's purchase if I'll open one.
Yeah, exactly. I remember a number of years ago, maybe 4 years ago or so, I moved and I needed a new washer and dryer. So I went over to the lumber store, that they have around. There's orange ones and blue ones. And I went in there and I said, I'm going to get this washer and dryer. And it was about $1,400. And I have a credit card I could have used or a debit card and whatever, just paid for it. But then the person there says, hey, would you like to have it for 0% interest? And I thought to myself, well, I don't need to pull my credit anytime soon for anything else. So why not? Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. A couple of times, about 2 minutes later, great, you're approved and schedule your delivery, etc. I get home, washer, dryer's fine. Whatever. 6 weeks later, I get my first statement in the mail, right? For paying it back. And I'm like, okay, well, I want to say maybe $120 was the minimum payment on it. It was supposed to be a 0% interest for like 12 months, I think. Okay. So I put it on auto pay and I'm like, well, don't just pay the minimum, even though it's 0 interest, pay, $200 a month. And that way the whole thing will be done within this 12-month window or whatever. I don't know. I didn't pay a lick of attention to the thing at all. Didn't think much about it from any other perspective. And I get to the last statement. I got my statement in the mail. I got the paper statement that said, you owe $117 for the last month. And I went on to go check it and pay it or something along those lines. And because I didn't pay the full amount of the payments, the $1,400 within this 12-month window, they had retroactively added interest at 30% onto the entire transaction on this last statement. So instead of it now being $170 or whatever, it was like $500. And I'm like, what in the world is this all about? And I call up the company, and it's not the hardware company you're talking to. It's a bank company behind the scenes that does these store credit cards for all these companies. And they were just dead firm and nope, sorry, that's what the terms were, et cetera. And you're stuck with this. I'd have been better off just paying on my own credit card and paying it monthly, obviously, or paying cash if I could have, or whatever. But it was this thing that came back to bite me. And this is one of those things that it was pretty painful. And I didn't give up at just the first phone call, Wendy. I called and said, hey, can I talk to somebody else? They escalated it. And they all just stood on their head and said, nope, can't do anything about it. And it just blew my mind. And I have seen over the years of doing one-on-ones with members where this has happened to others too. So this is not just some unique thing that just happened to me. And this is a thing that happens to a lot of people when you go in and you take up one of these store credit cards. So that's one major pitfall, I believe, because it was very lacking in transparency and it was a big surprise, a financial surprise, a year later. For some people, that could just be a big impact, So be aware of that. What are the other downsides of these store credit cards? I didn't think about this one right away. When you reminded me earlier, as soon as you get that card, they generally only give you a credit limit that is basically $100 or within $100 of whatever the purchase amount of that item was. So I now have a brand new credit card showing up on credit report, which is in itself another penalty because every time you open up a new account, credit age comes down and you get this little penalty of 15, 20 points for opening up a new account because it doesn't know how you're going to pay it back. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of opening multiple store credit cards in a short period of time. That's basically like getting multiple parking tickets, hitting your credit score. And now you didn't get the 20-point decrease, you got 30, 40, 50, 60-point decrease, right? So yet another downside of going in and getting one or more of these store credit cards. So I don't believe in them in any real way. They're not really a great function for building credit. make sure you're paying attention, even though it's nice to think, hey, I got this 720 credit score, I'll take this offer and get this deal. Remember those other consequences that kick in down the line. Okay. Hope this helps you out, and make sure you don't make that mistake moving forward so you can stay 720 credit rating.